Alright guys, welcome to the show. As always, I'm Zoid Bergenstein. This is going to be a little different than what I normally do. There's not going to be much gameplay, and this is actually the pilot for a new idea I have that I think is going to be really cool. This is my WGLNA World of Tanks eSports show. So the idea is we're going to take you through last week's matches, talk about the big ones, why they mattered, what happened, talk about this week's matches, which ones I think are going to be great, which ones you really don't want to miss. We're going to talk fantasy and whatever else you guys want to hear about WGLNA. So, less gameplay, more talk. It's going to go on YouTube. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And like I said, today is the pilot. Next week, I'd really like to have something that's a little more edited, but I want to figure out how much time I'm going to use for all this different stuff and try and get a baseline for what I can do, what graphics I need, and that sort of thing. So I do thank you guys for showing up and being here for this test run. Let me know what you think once it's over. It's all going to go on YouTube. You can hit me up either here. Actually, most of you guys in there have me on Skype, so just talk to me there. So the first thing I want to talk about this week is what happened last week during the WGLNA. It was a pretty crazy week. It was the first couple matches. We're going to look at the schedule here. The very first match was eLevate, that's us obviously, versus eLevate. And this was a really cool match because it's eLevate, the current reigning champions of WGLNA, coming back against the second place team from last season, eLevate. From eLevate's perspective, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of inside information. We picked up 3 new players. We got Amarly, Arklet, and Dark God Zim. 3 Ukrainian players from School Bus. We really wanted to come out and show everybody what we were capable of against Lamp. We came out with a 5-2 win, and I think we did that fairly effectively. On Lamp's case, they had a couple roster switches. I think they're a little worried about their roster, so they wanted to come out and really show what they were capable of as well. All in all, pretty important match for eLevate to come out and get their first win as a new roster, and they did that. Second match, Simp played Game Over. Simp ended up winning 5-1. Now, Simp, perennial powerhouse. Very important for them to come out and show that they're still strong. They did that against Game Over. Game Over is a team that made it in through the relegation brackets. They, I believe, got 3rd place. And for them, this is an opportunity to say, we made Gold League, even though we weren't there from a previous league. We want to show what we can do. Unfortunately, against Simp, not quite able to do that. So Simp took that 5-1. Now, High Voltage Cabalers versus Noble Gaming. This was a very interesting match. For those of you guys who don't know them, High Voltage Cabalers is a team made up of really talented players, but as a unit, they don't have a lot of experience. Noble, another perennial powerhouse. They were one of the teams in San Francisco last season. They ended up finishing 4th, I believe 2nd in the regular season. Really very strong team with several pickups from eLevate, which seemed to make them stronger. They ended up dropping 5-2 to High Voltage Cabalers, which was a little bit shocking to me, and we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. Fourth match of the night, #RU, that's Roulette from last season. They are back to #RU after picking up some of their old players, versus Team Rival. I expected Team Rival to do a little bit better. Very important for them is, again, one of the new teams in the Gold League. They finished 2nd place in the playoffs last season in Silver, 1st place in regular season. Dropping 2-5 to #RU, not really where they wanted to be their first match, but #RU, very strong team this season. So, it happens. Now, another matchup that I thought was going to be really interesting from last week was Synergy Gaming versus Team Refuse. Team Refuse ended up picking up the win 5-3. If you guys remember, Synergy got sponsored, Simple Tankers got sponsored by Synergy. Team Refuse, I believe, is the old Fear. So really, let's look at that roster actually. That's something I should note. That is Hammer Time, what's left of them. Hammer Time and Top Tier. Mainly Top Tier, I believe. So, that was another really high-caliber match. Team Refuse ended up picking it up, and that was really good on their part. Moving on to Thursday, June 25th, we have Maple Freedom versus Team Refuse in the first match of Thursday night. Team Refuse took that 5-1 over Maple Freedom. Synergy ended up going overtime with 07, but 07 was able to take it in what, in my opinion, was one of the best matches of the night. Match 3 of that night, eLevate taking on Simp, and that was another huge match which we'll get back to. eLevate ended up winning that in overtime 5-4 after a massive comeback. 07 then took on #RU, beat them 5-2, and Noble, in a very dominating performance, took down Lamp 5-0. So, we already talked about our matches from Tuesday. We're going to go back and look at the matches on Thursday. And again, guys, I know I'm kind of going back and forth here, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch this and I'm going to figure out exactly how we want to do this. Whether once we go and look at all the matches, I talk about how they went, or if we go through them all and then go back for the interesting ones. Team Refuse versus Maple Freedom. This is Maple Freedom's first Gold League match. They had a bye on Tuesday. They didn't look great against Team Refuse. Refuse came out and really took it to them. And for these teams who are just getting into Gold League, it's important to show what they're capable of, but it's not a death sentence to lose the first couple rounds. They've still got to get to playoffs. They've still got their chance. But picking up a win here in the early game, pretty important. 07 for Synergy, I thought was very interesting. These are two teams that really need to pick up these wins. Synergy lost to Team Refuse in their first match. This puts them 0-2, and this team is much, much better than 0-2, but playing Refuse in 07 first is pretty difficult. I think this was really impressive of 07 as well. Really showed that they were capable of coming out, finishing a match that they started. But I expected, there were a lot of blown plays that match, which if I had some footage, I think I will try and do that next week. We'll actually go over that. eLevate versus Simp. In my opinion, I'm not just saying this because I play for eLevate. I think it was the most interesting match of the night, possibly one of the most interesting, intense matches of the season. eLevate threw pretty early. We went down 1-4 and Simp was looking very strong. Moving on, we were able to come back and get all those wins. We came back and won an overtime 5-4 in an exhausting, absolutely ridiculous match. It was really pretty exciting. Also, if you guys do have questions, please feel free to write them out there in chat. I'll do my best to take a look at them, answer them at some point. I'm going to have a little question and answer phase at the end of the show. So the best way to make sure that you get those is make sure you message me at ElevateZoid on Twitter. I'll be checking all of those for your questions. Next match, 07. 07 actually had to play twice last night because they had a bye. This isn't going to happen anymore. There are only going to be 4 matches a night. There are no more off-stream matches. 07 took #RU down 5-2. And that, again, that's a pretty good showing. The fact that #RU is able to beat Team Rival 5-2 night 1, 07 did the same thing to #RU. That says, that's a team, especially after playing earlier that night, that can really do something well. Now, Noble's defeat of Lamp 5-0, I think, is very, very important for Noble. They lost to High Voltage Caballers 5-2. And that's a match that I really feel like Noble wanted and felt like they were going to take. They didn't. So coming out and showing that they're not going to be defeated, that they're not done with this season, and beating a team like Lamp 5-0, that makes a statement. And that's very, very important for them to do. Looking back over here, let me grab my notes. So, best match of the nights. I think it's difficult to say night 1, but if you're going to go back and watch one match, I would watch High Voltage Caballers versus Noble Gaming. I really feel like that was probably the most, even though it ended 5-2, evenly matched setup of the night. It was really, really impressive what both of those teams were able to do. High Voltage did end up with a 5-2 win, but the match was much closer than it looked like. Like I said, night 2, I think eLevate versus Simp, definitely go back and watch that. It was a fantastic round. And let's go ahead and talk about what Ted just asked in chat. Ted says, question, how crucial was that timeout taken when eLevate was down 1-4? Was tactics discussed, or was it more about getting psyched? And Ted, to answer your question, it was a little bit of both. Anytime you lose that many matches in a row, you can really go on tilt. For us, it was about taking that timeout, saying, you know what? We messed up. We've made mistakes. Simp is just simply outplaying us right now. We need to settle down. We need to figure out what we're going to run, how we're going to do it, and we need to realize we're not out of this match. Once we did all that, we were able to come back from that 1-4 deficit and win 5-1. So, the first match, and the reason we're going over these in so much detail, really sets the tone for the rest of the season. Now, funny enough, eLevate lost our first 3 matches last season. We came back and were the eventual champions, but we had to claw our way back out of that the entire season. Very important to make statements about your team at the start here. The fact that we were able to beat Simp and start 2-0 this season, very important for us. For a team like Synergy going 0-2, they're in the position we were last season. There's a lot of doubt. You're saying, oh man, what's wrong with our team? What can we do? So important to make those early statements. But, as I was saying earlier, even if you can't make those statements, figure out what it is you can do to get back. Don't give up, and I don't think any team that you see in this league is going to end up doing that. So this is going to bring us to the current rankings. We're going to move over here, standings. See if it loads up. WGLNA standings. And these first 2 matches don't mean a lot. It's the early season, but we do have Team Refuse in first place with their 2 wins. eLevate follows them at 1-1 with their overtime win, giving them 5 points. 07 tied with eLevate with 5 points as well. Into 4th place, you've got Simp. Simp is in 4th place because they have a win and an OTL. And for those of you guys that don't remember, the way scoring works in this league, the team that wins gets 3 points. The team that loses gets 0. An overtime win only worth 2 points, and an overtime loss worth 1. Moving down to the top 5, we've got High Voltage and Noble tied with 3 apiece. Now, High Voltage has only played 1 game, so they're at a little bit of a deficit. A lot of teams have buys this season, so this is not going to be indicative of exactly where they are. I think High Voltage will actually continue to climb up those rankings. Hashtag RU moving in there, leaving the bottom of the pack. I Love Lamp, 0-2 right now. Maple Freedom and Game Over, Team Rival, all tied at 0-1 with 0 points. Synergy does have that overtime loss that puts them at 1 point. And those are the standings for the league right now. Let's take a look at Fantasy now. Fantasy, for those of you guys who don't follow, is something really cool that WGLNA does. You can choose players for your team, you put them out there, and using an algorithm based heavily on win rate and some other stuff behind the scenes, they're able to calculate how well each person played in the game. It's really fun. I've actually got a contest going on for it right now, which everyone is still welcome to join, and we're just going to take a look at some of the top scorers in Fantasy last week. 07 Gaming was very, very important Thursday night because they played both matches. Both of those matches counted for Fantasy. So if you were to put people like this on your team, that was 800 points from one player. Ended up being very important. You do see 07 doing very well in the Fantasy. Fantasy is based on 2 things. It's how many rounds you play and how well you do. So if these guys end up going overtime twice, they play 18 rounds, that's going to help their fantasy. So when you're picking your team, you generally want to try and find a team that isn't going to necessarily dominate, but is going to go long rounds, because if they can win 5-3, that's more rounds, more points than if they go 5-0. Arklet, not necessarily a surprise this season, but he is doing fantastically in the in the fantasy standings. Part of that was that 4-5 match versus Simp, where lots of damage went out. Everybody had good rounds almost every game. Puts him into 3rd place. Nits from Simp again. That Simp eLevate match, a lot of points there. eLevate comes in next with Zone Delta. Pub Whisperer from Synergy Gaming is something that I consider very interesting. They did have that overtime loss, but he's still scoring very high. You see, we go all the way down to Zakum before we see another Synergy player. Drynix and Brodus from Simp as well in there. Static, ZX Soldier, Drogon Pro, E63, M6 are going to round out the rest of the top fantasy scores. Something else that's important to consider for these guys, look at this. You have these 2 guys who played tonight, but Simp and eLevate both have buys tonight. And that means you really want to remove your Simp and eLevate players from your fantasy roster. My fantasy roster for this week, we're going to take a look at it. I have Commodore from 07 Gaming. They're playing Maple Freedom, and 07's looking really good. I think Maple Freedom might pick up a round or 2, but I do feel like Commodore and Vitroxity are going to be able to put out some really big numbers tonight. They're going to be able to go in there, score, and get me my win here. Hashtag RU plays Game Over, and I'm very curious about this one. I have 2 hashtag RU players, Game is Rigged and Mactep Putin, 2 guys that I really respect as players, going up against them. My concern playing both of them is that they're going to beat Game Over a little too badly. If they go out and 5-0 them and they do what they are capable of doing, it's not going to be good. If Game Over can come out and start playing like a more seasoned Gold League team, I think this one could go a little bit longer, and we're going to see Game is Rigged and Mactep Putin both get big points. I have Pub Whisperer from Synergy against Rival. I think Synergy and Rival is going to go fairly deep. These are 2 teams on the bottom of the rankings right now. If this goes 5-4, maybe 5-3, I think Pub Whisperer is going to be a guy who can get me a lot of points. He's already one of the top scorers in fantasy. Definitely recommend putting him on your roster. Valkyrie Vewas. Now this I wasn't really positive about. I haven't seen Rival play that much. We saw them play against hashtag RU, and he's their highest scoring member. I picked him. I hope it's a good decision. I'm not positive if it's going to be. I might have to message Spanish later and see about changing that pick. But I may end up sticking with him. Vitroxity, again, very high-scoring player on 07. I think that they're going to do well against Maple Freedom. I decided to go with them. Consistent, good points instead of possibly having somebody, get beat 05, which I don't want. That's going to be very little points. Zakum is my next player. He plays for Synergy Gaming against Rival, and again, he's a very high point scorer. You see these guys have actually scored quite a lot. Outside of Valkyrie, he's only played 7 games. And I think it's a fairly decent pick here. I am at 13th place overall for fantasy. We'll see if I can increase that this season. Now, Ted asked, why did I pick Game is Rigged over Blue Boys Captain or Wall Hacks? Let's move over here and find those guys. We're going to find... Let's see, where is... Looks like they're actually not even up here. So let's search. Blue Boys Captain. They do play tonight. And I actually clicked the wrong thing there. They're playing Team Refuse. I think those guys could go very big. My concern is that they're going to win by too much. There are so many different players on High Voltage Caballers that can go big. I felt like the guys that I chose may end up going just a little bit bigger. I think those are very solid picks, though. Both Wallhacks and Blue Boys captains, very high-scoring players for their team. They're good picks. I chose not to go with them, like I said, because... I almost said hi to someone in the stream. I'm going to have to remember not to do that. But what's up, Tabano? I just don't think they're going to quite be as good as I need them to be. Not that they won't play well, but that they won't score quite enough. So we're going to take a look at the top teams in fantasy. Captain Blood in first place, Canaduck in second, Merkel Pro in third, Brigadier General Elizabeth in fourth place, Jay Smooth rounding out the top 5. And this is really impressive if you look at these guys' scores. We've got Captain Blood with 5,382 points. I'm at 13th with 4,998, about to break 5,000 hopefully, and I'm going to try and keep pushing that up. You do see this little shield next to all of the WGLNA players. It's a pretty cool system. I definitely recommend you guys get into it if you haven't already. Now, this is something I'm looking forward to. We're going to move into this week's matches, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions and see how we do. I think last week was almost 100%. I had eLevate beating Lamp. I'm always going to have us winning, obviously. I had Simp beating Game Over. I did have Noble taking High Voltage, so I missed one there. I had Team Rival beating #RU, so that's another one that I missed. I had Refuse beating Synergy. I had Refuse beating Maple Freedom. And I don't actually recall who I had, 07 or Synergy. I think I had Synergy winning that game. I had eLevate over Simp. I had 07 over #RU and Noble over Lamp. So, this week, let's see how accurate I can be. I'm going to say that #RU comes out and beats Game Over. I think the experience of #RU is just going to be a little bit more than Game Over can handle. They haven't really proved themselves in the Gold League yet. They lost to Simp 1-5, didn't look great doing it. So, #RU gets this win, and I'm going to say it's going to be 5-2. I'm on the High Voltage Caballers bandwagon right now. I think they're looking really solid. Their win over Noble in Week 1 was really pretty. It made a statement. I think they're going to beat Team Refuse 5-3. Team Rival for Synergy is going to be an interesting match. Both these teams are better than their record. Rival lost to #RU. That's their only loss, but other people have played twice, so they are sitting still at 0 points. Synergy Gaming has lost twice to 2 good teams and are sitting at 0-2 with 1 point with their overtime loss. I have to give this one to Team Rival. I think Team Rival can come out. I still believe in them. We play against them a lot. I've seen what they're capable of. If they can start firing on all cylinders, I think they've got this. They're an incredibly hard-working team, and not to take anything away from Synergy, but I think an 0-2 start like this is going to be a little bit rough. Maple Freedom versus 07 Gaming is going to be similar to #RU versus Game Over. The experience of 07 is going to take them above Maple Freedom. Maple Freedom yet to prove themselves like the other Silver League teams coming into this season. 07 takes it 5-1. Moving on to Thursday's matches. eLevate plays Noble, and this is going to be a great match, guys. Do not miss it. I really feel like we're going to take it, but again, you'll never see me predict against us. Simp versus #RU. Especially after our match versus Simp last week, I really feel like Simp is a very strong team. I say Simp takes #RU 5-2. I love Lamp versus Team Refuse. Lamp has to come out and get a win here. If they don't, they're in trouble, but Team Refuse still looking very good. Their past matches have shown that they're not messing around this season. I think Team Refuse takes Lamp. I'm going to say it's going to be 5-3. Synergy Gaming versus Game Over. My prediction is that this is Synergy's first win. They're going to take Game Over because, again, I haven't seen anything to make me want to pick some of these new Silver League teams. Synergy beats Game Over 5-1. Most important matches for teams. Let's go over some of these. I think it's going to be a very important match, Synergy versus Team Rival. As I explained, both those teams on the bottom of the rankings, one of them is going to win, and it's going to start or hopefully spark a good season for them. Another loss, that can really hurt. That's a lot of distance to start to come back from, especially because this is a smaller league. Teams are much harder to beat. You don't have the bottom-feeding teams. Thursday's matchups. I'm going to say again, eLevate versus Noble. We've had a really difficult season so far. We played the second place team first week. We played the third place team second week. Fourth week after our bye, we play the fourth ranked team. All of which very, very powerful. I think that's the match of the night. It looks like fantasy for week 2. We're just going to go ahead and say take players from eLevate. take players from Noble. That should be 4 of your players, in my opinion. If you can pick up 4 from that, I think that game is going to go deep. That's over half your team. I would recommend either Arklet from my team, Amr Lee is doing very well, and Zone Delta. Any of those 3 players, I think, will be very, very strong. Taking a look at Noble. Noble has, let's see, we're looking for points. Here we go. Akula has been playing very well. He's been a perennial player on my team. He's a player that I do like to pick. Moving down their list, we see, looks like Commander J. Oh, and Commander J, great choice. We saw what he was capable of last season. Definitely worth picking up. Militant, also very, very strong player. Dodoma as well. All these guys, really. You can't go wrong with any of them. If I had to choose, I would probably pick Akula and Commander J. I think Akula's been performing very, very well, and Commander J is one of those players that can always go big. We saw him pick up some major, major games last season, and I think he's going to do it again. So, we've got 4 of our players picked for next week. I would say possibly another Simp player. I do think they're going to beat #RU, but Simp players tend to score big. So I would go back to possibly, from their team, maybe take 2. My choices would be Nitz is having a big fantasy season. I would go with him, and I think I'd probably go with Drynitz or Brodus. Both these guys having very solid seasons as well, but you're just not going to go wrong with any of these guys that play tier 8s constantly. That puts us almost to our cap for players. I would say, let's go back actually. Maybe choose someone from Synergy. Synergy Game Over could end up going a little bit longer. Neither of those teams have a win yet. I think they will next week. But it's hard to say. Which is the player from Synergy that I was mentioning that has been doing very well? Pub Whisperer. I think he's worth having on your team almost no matter what. They do have a 3-5 and a 4-5, and if they continue going in these long games, he's been their most productive player. And that's my team for Thursday, July 2nd. I think it may end up changing after Tuesday. You guys can tune into my stream, and I'll actually be picking my team again for that actual Thursday. So guys, that's going to do it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you let me know. I'm going to answer some questions that you guys have posted on Twitter right now. It doesn't look like I have any. If you guys have any questions, make sure you let me know there in chat. So this did end up going a little bit shorter than I had intended. Next time, I'm going to have a co-host, and we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. Oh, I hope I didn't just crash. No, I didn't. Good, just my preview. I'm going to have a co-host, so this will take a little bit longer. Hopefully we're going to have some graphics and other cool stuff like that, because this is something that I plan on doing every week. But I want to thank you guys for stopping by. You can follow my stream, mlg.tv/ZoidBergenstein. You can follow me on Twitter, @ElevateZoid. Check out our website, elevate.gg. And as always, make sure you're watching the WGLNA on battleviewer.com. The matches actually start very soon. So I'll be there watching, cheering on the teams that I'm rooting for. I hope to see you guys there. I'll be in chat saying hello to you. And like I said, give me feedback on Twitter, on YouTube, on my stream. I will talk to you guys. Actually, Ted has a question. Would you gamble on a player with a great past but has not played this season, as in Swipple? That's tough, Ted. Gambling on a player can yield 0 points. I think in fantasy, I'm more apt to go with a player that I know will at least get me something. I would rather have a very mediocre 200 points from a player rather than getting 0. Even if that player could go big and get 300, it's just not a net gain from not getting any points. So that's probably what I do. I would also message the captains on Twitter. Most people are going to be open with their lineups. Whether or not someone is going to play, they'll let you know. So that would be my advice with a player like Swipple. So again, guys, thank you very much. This is going to be taking place every Tuesday at 6, just like today. I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to go watch those WGLNA matches, and thank you all for watching. Take it easy, everybody.